I'm Elena, 21F, and I need to talk about the changes in my family over the last few years. My mom died when I was 16, which hit both my dad, 48M, and me really hard. We were always a close-knit family, and losing her left this big empty space in our lives that we didn't know how to fill. Mom had been sick for a while before she passed. She had lupus, which meant she was often tired and in pain. Despite that, she always made time for me. We had this tradition of baking cookies together every Sunday afternoon. Even when she was having bad days, she'd sit at the kitchen table and guide me through the recipes. Those are some of my favorite memories. Dad was amazing during Mom's illness. He balanced his work as an architect with taking care of Mom and being there for me. I remember him staying up late to help me with my homework after spending all day at the hospital with Mom. He was our rock. When Mom died, it felt like our whole world fell apart. Dad threw himself into his work, taking on more projects than ever before. I think it was his way of coping, of keeping busy so he didn't have to think about the loss. I focused on school and my friends, trying to keep my mind off the empty space in our house. For about 5 years, it was just Dad and me. We had our routines. I'd make dinner on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he'd handle the rest of the week. We'd watch old movies together on Saturday nights, the ones Mom used to love. It wasn't perfect, but we were managing. Then, about a year ago, Dad started dating again. I was in my second year of college at that point, living at home to save money. He met Victoria, 45F, through a mutual friend at work. Victoria runs her own marketing firm. She's smart and confident, the kind of woman who commands attention when she walks into a room. When Dad first told me about Victoria, I tried to be happy for him. I knew it was probably good for him to have companionship again. But it felt wrong, like he was trying to replace Mom. It had been 5 years, but to me, it still felt too soon. Their relationship moved quickly. Within 6 months of meeting, Dad proposed to Victoria. I was shocked when he told me. I asked him if he really thought this was what Mom would have wanted, which I regret now because I could see how much it hurt him. He told me that Mom would have wanted him to be happy, and that Victoria made him happy in a way he hadn't been since losing Mom. The wedding was small, just close family and friends. I stood next to Dad as his best woman, but I wasn't really into it. I could see how happy Dad was, how he looked at Victoria. But all I could think about was Mom, and how she should have been there instead. After the wedding, Victoria moved into our house. She tried to connect with me, always asking about my studies and my friends. She even offered to help me look for internships in marketing if I was interested. But I kept my distance. I was polite, but I spent most of my time in my room or out with friends. One day, about 2 months after the wedding, Victoria and I had a big fight. She had rearranged some furniture in the living room, including moving a photo of Mom that had always been on the mantel. When I saw it, I got really angry. I accused her of trying to erase Mom from our lives, of trying to take her place. Victoria looked shocked and hurt. She explained that she was just trying to make the space feel like home for all of us, and that she never intended to replace my mom. Dad came home in the middle of our argument. He tried to calm us both down, but I was too upset and went to my room. Later that night, he came to talk to me. He reminded me of all the ways Victoria had tried to be kind and supportive, and how much she cared about both of us. He said that loving Victoria didn't mean he loved Mom any less, and that there was room in his heart for both of them. That conversation made me realize how unfair I'd been to Victoria. The next day, I apologized to her. She was very understanding. We had a long talk about Mom, and Victoria shared some of her own experiences with loss. She had lost her father to cancer a few years before meeting Dad, so she understood grief in a way I hadn't realized. Since then, I've been trying to be more open to Victoria. It's not always easy, and there are still days when I miss Mom terribly and feel resentful of this new family dynamic. But I'm working on it. Victoria has been patient and kind, never pushing me for more than I'm ready to give. One thing that's helped is that Victoria encouraged me to keep up the Sunday baking tradition. She doesn't bake with me, she says she's hopeless in the kitchen, but she always makes sure we have ingredients, and she sits and chats with me while I bake. It's not the same as it was with Mom, but it's nice in its own way. Victoria has also been supportive of my education. I'm studying environmental science, and she's always interested in hearing about my classes. She even helped me prepare for a big presentation last semester, giving me tips on public speaking from her experience in business. Dad seems happier than he has been in years. He and Victoria often go on dates, trying new restaurants or going to art exhibitions. It's good to see him enjoying life again, even if it sometimes makes me feel guilty for resisting their relationship for so long. I still struggle sometimes with guilt. Guilt for how I treated Victoria initially, guilt for sometimes enjoying her company and feeling like I'm betraying Mom, guilt for the pain I caused Dad during what should have been a happy time for him. I know intellectually that mom would want us all to be happy, but emotionally it's still hard sometimes. There are moments when I catch myself almost calling Victoria mom, and then I feel terrible, like I'm forgetting about my real mom. But then I remember something my aunt told me at the wedding. She said that love isn't a finite resource, that opening your heart to new people doesn't diminish the love you have for others. I'm trying to hold on to that idea. I guess I'm looking for advice on how to fully accept this new family dynamic. How do I balance honoring mom's memory with embracing Victoria as part of our family? Has anyone else been through something similar? How did you handle it? Thank you for reading this long post. It feels good to get it all out there. Update 1: It's been about a week since my original post, and I wanted to update you all on a pretty significant development in our family situation. Yesterday, Dad asked to talk to me privately. I could tell something was wrong from the moment he walked into my room. His face was pale, and his hands were shaking slightly. I immediately thought something had happened to one of our relatives or maybe one of his close friends. But what he told me was completely unexpected. Victoria has been diagnosed with breast cancer. Apparently, she had gone for a routine checkup a few days ago, and they found something concerning. After a series of tests, the doctors confirmed it was cancer. They caught it relatively early, which is good news, but she'll still need to undergo treatment. I was stunned. Victoria had always seemed so vibrant and healthy. She goes to the gym regularly, eats well, and is always full of energy. It just goes to show that cancer doesn't discriminate. Dad was clearly struggling as he told me the news. His voice cracked several times, and I could see the fear in his eyes. He's already lost one wife, and now he's facing the possibility of losing another. It was hard to see him like that. What really got to me was when Dad asked for my help. He said that Victoria was going to need a lot of support in the coming months, and he couldn't do it alone. He asked if I could be there for her, help out around the house more, and just generally be a source of comfort and strength. I felt a lot of conflicting emotions. Part of me was touched that Dad trusted me enough to ask for my help in this difficult time. Another part felt guilty for all the times I'd been cold or distant towards Victoria. And yet another part felt a strange sense of resentment. Hadn't I already lost one mother figure? Was I now expected to watch another one suffer? But looking at Dad's face, seeing the pain and worry there, I knew I had to step up. Whatever my feelings towards Victoria, she makes my dad happy. And she's always been kind to me, even when I didn't deserve it. So I told Dad I would do whatever I could to help. He looked relieved and hugged me tightly. It was the first time I'd seen him cry since Mom's funeral. After our talk, I went to find Victoria. She was in the garden, her favorite place in the house. When she saw me approach, she tried to put on a brave face, but I could see she was scared. I didn't know what to say at first. How do you comfort someone who's just received such life-altering news? In the end, I just hugged her. It was probably the first real hug I'd ever given her, and I felt her stiffen in surprise before relaxing into it. We talked for a long time after that. Victoria told me about her diagnosis, the treatment plan, and her fears for the future. She admitted that she was scared, not just for herself but for how this would affect Dad and me. She even apologized for disrupting our lives with her illness, which made me feel terrible for how I'd treated her in the past. I promised Victoria that we would face this together as a family. I told her about some of the things I'd learned when Mom was sick, little tricks for dealing with nausea or fatigue. She seemed grateful for the advice, and for the first time, I felt like we were truly connecting. Over the past few days, our household dynamic has shifted dramatically. The tension that used to exist between Victoria and me has largely dissipated, replaced by a shared purpose, getting through this difficult time together. I've been helping out more around the house, taking on some of Victoria's usual chores. I've also been researching breast cancer treatments and support groups in our area. It feels good to be doing something proactive instead of just worrying. Dad has been amazing through all of this. He's been Victoria's rock, going to all her appointments with her and making sure she has everything she needs. But I can see the toll it's taking on him. Sometimes I catch him staring off into space with a look of pure terror on his face. In those moments, I try to be there for him like he's always been there for me. Yesterday, I found Dad in the kitchen late at night, just sitting at the table with a cup of cold coffee. I sat down with him, and we talked for hours. He told me about how he met Mom, about their early days together, and about how scared he was when she first got sick. He said that going through that with Mom had prepared him in some ways for what we're facing now with Victoria, but that it also made it more terrifying because he knows how bad things can get. I shared some of my own memories of Mom, including some of the tough times during her illness that I hadn't really talked about before. It was a sad conversation, but also healing in a way. I felt closer to Dad than I had in years. This whole situation has made me realize how petty my earlier resentments were. Life is so fragile, and family, whether by blood or by choice, is what matters most. I regret the time I wasted pushing Victoria away when I could have been building a relationship with her. Today, Victoria had her first chemotherapy session. Dad and I both went with her. It was a long, draining day. Victoria was brave, but I could see how scared she was. The nurses were kind and explained everything that was happening, which helped. After we got home, Victoria was exhausted. I made her some ginger tea, something that used to help Mom with nausea, and sat with her while she rested. We didn't talk much, but it felt good to just be there for her. I'm scared for what the future holds. Cancer treatment is a long and difficult road, and there's no guarantee of the outcome. But I'm also oddly hopeful. This crisis has brought our family closer together in a way I never expected. To those who commented on my original post urging me to give Victoria a chance, thank you. Your words were in my mind as I made the decision to fully commit to supporting her through this. And to those who shared their own stories of blended families and loss, thank you for helping me understand that it's possible to honor the memory of those we've lost while still embracing new loved ones. I'll update again when we know more about how Victoria's treatment is progressing. For now, we're taking it one day at a time and focusing on being there for each other. If anyone has experience with supporting a family member through cancer treatment, I'd appreciate any advice you can offer. Update 2: It's been about 2 months since my last update, and a lot has happened. I'm still trying to process everything, but I felt like I needed to share this with you all. Victoria's cancer treatment has been going as well as can be expected. She's had 2 rounds of chemotherapy so far, and while the side effects have been rough, her doctors are optimistic. Dad and I have been taking turns accompanying her to treatments and helping her manage the aftermath at home. Throughout this process, Victoria and I have grown much closer. We've had many late-night conversations when she couldn't sleep due to the chemo side effects. She's shared stories about her life, her hopes and fears, and I found myself opening up to her in return. But last week, something happened that shook our newfound closeness to its core. I was helping Victoria organize some old papers in her home office when I came across a photo album I'd never seen before. Curious, I opened it, and what I saw inside left me reeling. There were photos of Victoria with my mom. Lots of them. They were clearly good friends, laughing together at parties, hiking in the mountains, even a picture of them in cap and gown at what looked like a college graduation. I confronted Victoria about it immediately. She looked stricken when she saw what I was holding, and for a moment, I thought she might try to deny it or make up some excuse. But instead, she sat down heavily in her chair and said, "I guess it's time you knew the truth." The story she told me was almost unbelievable. Victoria and my mom had been best friends in college. They met during freshman orientation and hit it off immediately. They were roommates all 4 years, and even after graduation, they remained close. Victoria shared some stories about their college days. How they'd stay up all night studying for exams, fueled by coffee and junk food. How they'd go on road trips during spring break, singing along to cheesy pop songs at the top of their lungs. How they supported each other through breakups and family problems and all the ups and downs of early adulthood. They were even bridesmaids at each other's weddings. Victoria showed me a photo I'd never seen before, of her and Mom in matching bridesmaid dresses, arms around each other and grinning at the camera. But then Victoria's face fell, and she told me about the falling out. It happened shortly after I was born. She wouldn't give me details, saying it was between her and Mom, but it was bad enough that they didn't speak for years. When Mom got sick, Victoria reached out to try and reconcile. But by then, Mom was too ill for visitors other than immediate family. She died before they could repair their friendship, and Victoria said it's one of her biggest regrets. After Mom's death, Victoria struggled with whether to reach out to Dad. She wanted to offer condolences and support, but she was afraid it would be inappropriate given her history with Mom. In the end, she decided to keep her distance. Years later, when she met Dad through a mutual friend, she didn't immediately realize who he was. By the time she figured it out, they had already started developing feelings for each other. She agonized over whether to tell him about her connection to Mom, but ultimately decided to keep it a secret, fearing it would complicate things. I was furious. I felt betrayed, not just by Victoria but by Dad too. How could he not have recognized Mom's old friend? But Victoria swore that Dad didn't know. She said that she and Mom had drifted apart long before Dad came into the picture, and that she looked quite different now than she had in her younger years. I didn't know what to believe. Part of me wanted to storm out, to never speak to Victoria again. But another part of me remembered how she'd been there for me these past months, how she'd supported me through my grief even as she battled cancer. I ended up leaving the room without saying anything. I needed time to process this bombshell. I spent the next few days avoiding both Victoria and Dad, trying to sort out my feelings. On one hand, I felt deeply hurt and betrayed. Victoria had kept this massive secret from us, potentially altering the course of our family's life. What if Mom had wanted to reconcile but never got the chance because Victoria didn't reach out sooner? What if Dad would have felt differently about dating Victoria if he'd known about her history with Mom? But on the other hand, I couldn't ignore the genuine care and affection Victoria had shown me, especially since her cancer diagnosis. The late-night talks, the shared tears and laughter, the way she supported my dreams and ambitions, none of that felt fake or forced. After days of internal struggle, I decided to talk to Dad. I showed him the photo album and told him what Victoria had revealed. To my surprise, he wasn't shocked. He looked sad and a bit guilty, but not surprised. It turned out that he had known about Victoria's connection to Mom, but not until after they were already seriously dating. Victoria had finally confessed everything to him before he proposed. Dad said he was angry and hurt at first, but after a lot of soul-searching, he decided that his love for Victoria was strong enough to overcome this complication. He apologized for keeping it from me, saying they had planned to tell me together but could never find the right time. Then Victoria's cancer diagnosis happened, and it seemed like the wrong moment to drop another bombshell. I'm still processing all of this information. On one level, I understand why they kept it from me. I know I wasn't always the most receptive to Victoria, and this revelation might have driven an even bigger wedge between us earlier on. But I also feel like I had a right to know. This wasn't just about Victoria and Dad's relationship, it was about my mom, my history, my family. The strangest part is that knowing this has actually made me feel closer to Victoria in some ways. The stories she's shared about Mom, the little details and memories that only a close friend would know, they've given me a new perspective on my mother that I never had before. For example, Victoria told me about how Mom used to stress bake before big exams in college. Apparently, their dorm room was always full of cookies and muffins during finals week. It made me smile because I inherited that habit from Mom. I always end up in the kitchen when I'm stressed about school. She also shared some of Mom's quirks that I'd forgotten about or never knew. Like how Mom would always mix up movie quotes, combining different films into nonsensical but funny lines. Or how she had a secret talent for juggling that she'd break out at parties to impress people. These stories have made Mom feel more real to me again. For so long, she's been this perfect, idealized figure in my mind. Hearing about her as a young woman, with flaws and quirks and silly habits, has brought her back to life in a way. I'm not sure where we go from here. Victoria's health is still the primary concern, and I don't want to add to her stress during her treatment. But I also feel like we need to have some serious conversations as a family about trust, honesty, and how we move forward from here. To those who've stuck with me through these updates, thank you. If anyone has experience with family secrets coming to light, especially in the context of blended families, I'd really appreciate your insight. How do you rebuild trust after something like this? How do you balance the hurt of being kept in the dark with the understanding of why it was done? I'll update again when I've had more time to process all of this and figure out our next steps as a family. For now, we're focusing on Victoria's treatment and trying to navigate this new, complicated dynamic one day at a time. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have progressed in our family. First, the good news: Victoria's cancer treatments have been successful. Her latest scans showed no signs of the tumor, and while she'll need to continue with some medication and regular checkups, her doctors are optimistic about her prognosis. The relief we all felt at this news was indescribable. As for our family dynamics, it's been a journey of healing and understanding. After the shock of learning about Victoria's connection to my mom wore off, we had many long, sometimes difficult conversations as a family. We talked about trust, about the complexities of grief and moving on, and about what it means to be a family. Victoria shared more stories about her friendship with my mom. Some made me laugh, others made me cry, but all of them gave me a new perspective on the woman who raised me. It was bittersweet to hear these stories, but also incredibly precious. One story that really stuck with me was about a road trip Mom and Victoria took after college graduation. They drove across the country, camping in national parks and visiting quirky roadside attractions. Victoria showed me photos of Mom standing next to the world's largest ball of twine, grinning like a kid. It was a side of Mom I'd never seen before, and it made me wish I'd had the chance to know her as an adult, as a friend as well as a parent. Dad also opened up more about his relationship with Victoria. He told me about their first date, how nervous he was, and how Victoria made him laugh for the first time since Mom died. He said that falling in love with Victoria didn't diminish his love for Mom, but rather honored her memory by allowing him to be happy again. As for me, I've been working on forgiveness and acceptance. It hasn't been easy, and there are still days when I struggle with conflicting emotions. But I've come to understand that life is rarely black and white, and that people can make mistakes without being bad people. I've also been seeing a grief counselor, which has been incredibly helpful. She's helped me understand that my feelings of betrayal and anger were valid, but that holding on to them was hurting me more than anyone else. She's also helped me find ways to honor Mom's memory while still embracing my relationship with Victoria. One thing that's really helped is that we started a new family tradition. On Mom's birthday, we plant a tree in her memory. This year, we planted an apple tree in our backyard. As we were digging the hole, Victoria told us about how Mom once tried to make apple pie from scratch in college, and how it was such a disaster that they ended up ordering pizza and eating the raw apples instead. We all laughed, and for the first time, it felt like we were truly a family, not divided by secrets or grief, but united in love and shared memories. I've also been focusing on my own future. I'm in my final year of college now, majoring in environmental science. Victoria has been incredibly supportive, using her business contacts to help me secure an internship with a local conservation group. It's not lost on me that a year ago, I would have rejected her help out of stubbornness. Now, I'm grateful for her support and guidance. Dad seems happier than I've seen him in years. He and Victoria still have their date nights, but now they often invite me along too. Sometimes we try new restaurants, other times we go to art exhibitions or local festivals. It's nice to see them together, to see how they balance and complement each other. As for my relationship with Victoria, it's evolved in ways I never expected. She's not trying to replace Mom, and I'm not trying to see her as a mother figure. Instead, we're developing our own unique bond. She's become a mentor, a friend, and yes, family. We still have our Sunday baking sessions, but now we experiment with new recipes together instead of sticking to Mom's old favorites. It feels like a good balance of honoring the past while creating new traditions. I know that our journey isn't over. We'll still have challenges to face and difficult days ahead. But I feel like we're on the right path now. We're communicating more openly, we're supporting each other, and we're finding ways to blend our past and present into a future that honors all parts of our family story. To everyone who's followed my story and offered advice and support, thank you. Your insights and encouragement have been invaluable. And to anyone out there struggling with blended families, loss, or family secrets, I hope our story gives you some hope. It's not always easy, but with patience, understanding, and a lot of love, it is possible to build something beautiful out of even the most complicated situations. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I'm looking forward to finding out. For now, I'm grateful for the family I have, for the memories of the mother I lost, and for the unexpected journey that brought us all together.